A railway reopens its doors in Wensleydale. After a long fight to re-establish itself, the Wensleydale Railway Company is in business. But 11 years ago, supporters were watching the final trains along the 22-mile branch. We look back at this period before we progress through to the grand reopening day in July 2003.
Yeah, very misty, evocative day. Just the setting really for the last train.
On one cold December day in 1992, a small band of people collected at Fingal Road Station to watch the double-headed diesel train pass through. Fingal wasn't used to such activity. It lost its regular service back in 1954, although a few specials did pass through later on in the 1950s. Before the train arrived, Bill Mitchell and Bob Swallow discussed the good old days on the line through Wensleydale with a local farmer from Fingal.
One up and one down, 8 o'clock. One up and one down but about 12 o'clock. One up and one down at 2 o'clock. And one up and one down at 5 o'clock. And then there was the last trains on the night was at 7:30. One up and one down.
The procession through Fingal Road Station is watched by locals and enthusiasts alike as the extra special train of 13 coaches crawls along the single track. It was the day of the last passenger train to traverse the branch, the 2nd of January 1993. The special had been organised by Hertfordshire Rail Tours and was aptly called the Wensleydale Lament.
Sorry, what was the freight situation like? You got a freight train a day, did you?
One freight train a day. And there used to be the Oars goods from Northallerton up to Oars. And it used to deliver what all farmers had ordered, all cattle cake and all the such as that. It was quite a busy line once upon a time. Well, we came down here. We came down here in 1928.
Where from?
From Redbank. That's just above. That's just above about Leyburn side there.
Yeah.
My father was farming there.
And there'd be lots of cattle wagons coming up and down, would there?
November, October, November. There used to be special trains. Oh, there could be 40 or 50 wagons, all loaded up, going down at maybe about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, would have been sold at Leyburn.
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
They need a double header on that then, would they?
No. The only time we really had doubles on, with steam, with ammunition. They let a lot of ammunition up here in wartime.
Yeah, yes.
A vast. Oh, they used to come up maybe about 10 o'clock at night. I don't know. They put 2 trains on, so I think she wasn't coughing some money cinders out to make it, you know.
Final destination was the quarry terminal at Redmire. Whilst the local farmer took his catch of pheasants to market, the place was invaded by 720 people who had left London at 7:40 a.m. to pay homage to this famous railway. Redmire looked more like King's Cross at rush hour for the duration of the visit. It was indeed a rare chance to view the terminal with its loading bays and group of sidings, the last such occasion for 10 years or more. That is until the new Wensleydale Railway can reach this part again. Fortunately, the foggy weather cleared when passengers disembarked at Redmire, which is just short of Bolton Castle and 22 miles from Northallerton.
How many years have you been doing it?
41, 42 come August.
What's your name?
Johnson, Sydney.
And where are you from?
Thornaby.
Ah, Thornaby. Oh. And what sort of a track is it? This, you've got to have a bit of patience, have you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no dashing, dashing about.
No. And you remember the old steam trains?
Yes.
It wasn't a very demanding track, I suppose. It's reasonably level, is it?
You've got to be watching what you're doing all the time, especially when you're bringing the ore down.
Yeah. Ah. And how long has it taken you today? Just about the average, is it? Or?
About an hour and a half. You don't do no more than 30 miles an hour.
No, no.
The Class 47 departs for London with the usual send-off for a final occasion. Bill Mitchell was able to speak to the signalman at Bedale on the occasion of one of the last mineral trains.
What is your name?
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen.
Yeah.
And how long have you been on the line?
45 years on the railway.
And British Railway asked you to stay on, did they?
Yes.
For how long?
Till probably the 18th of December to see the last mineral train out. But I've actually, since they put the closing date on for the last mineral, we've got to know that these passenger trains are running, and I've asked them if they'll let me stop on till the 2nd of January.
What do you remember? What did you start off as?
As a book boy in Allenworth North Signal Box.
As a what boy?
A book boy.
What's that?
Used to do all the book work for the signalmen. We were that busy in those days. There was a cabin with 90 levers in, engine shed to work with, branch lines to work off, about 6 telephones in to work, and a signal telegraph machine for doing stock reports and things from different branches and different stations. And we used to take everything in there, and used to keep the signal box clean, and you could eat your meals off the floor. The cabin, the frame was black-leaded every day, and the signals, the levers were polished every day, and you had the old black-lead fireplaces in, and hearth whitened, and the old signalman used to have the stiff white collars, and used to sit in the chair and make me work like a Trojan.
Where are we now? We're in Bedale Box.
Bedale Signal Box, yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about it?
Well, they was built in 1856, and there was a double line working up here, and they had a good service. There's a horse dock and goods yard, sidings into the petrol place. Actually, the old station master who had this line is still alive here, and he lives in a big house just over here, and he's 91-year-old.
What's he called?
Mr. Plummer.
Yeah. How many levers have you got?
Here, 30.
How many do you need today?
3.
What are you holding?
This one?
Yeah.
This is a dud, this one.
What's the one down here?
This is the gate lever.
It is.
This,
Yeah.
yeah. What I do is I go down, get the keys out the gate, come up here, put them in there, put this back, and then that releases that signal, number 26 signal. And it's the same on the opposite way, on the way back again. The manual gates operator, you see. It's the only one on the branch what is. The only signal box on the branch now.
And what's the routine when the train arrives?
Well, the train arrives is that when I've got the signals and put the gates across for the road traffic, I take the key token down to the bottom on that the gantry at the bottom there, and he exchanges the key token for I take the tablet of him from Castle Hills to here, and then I give him the key token to work the ground frame up at Redmire.
That is the key token?
Yeah, for working the train. It says Bedale Redmire train staff.
What is it called?
And it's key. That's Beedale. This is a box here. That's the original state of the station with the sidings and that, and the gantry of signals, and that's the front view going from here down to leeming, the leeming box. The gates, take those keys out, and then I put them in this frame here. Number 26 signal, the down main home signal, that allows the train to come over the crossing. If that signal's not off, it'll stand there. 11 what? What the hell have you been doing with them this morning? Have they got it all tipped on the line, blocking the line like? I see. He hasn't knocked him a bit. He knocked him a good bit, hasn't he? Aye. Yeah. I've got the photographers here and all sorts waiting.
Ray Allen prepares to protect the busy main road to Northallerton from the impending freight train. The line was originally built here by the North Eastern Railway in 1876, with the first trains arriving and departing in 1877 as far as Askrigg. As it happens, exactly 100 years later, in 1977, experimental Dales rail trains would run from Newcastle, Leeds and York to try and revive the then closed railway, but even these ceased in 1981. The remaining stub of the old 39-mile line from Northallerton to Garsdale was kept on to haul the limestone dust in daily train loads from here at Redmire to Teesside. Sometimes 2 trains were needed per day. By 1992 this service too was discontinued and left the line with a doubtful future. We see archive film of lorries unloading the dust into wagons, which would be shunted ready for these Class 37s to take on to the Redcar steelworks. In 1993, however, there would be a brighter future develop, with no fewer than 3 ideas on the table to retain the railway. Firstly, British Rail put the line up for sale with a £1.1 million price tag. Then came the beginnings of the Wensleydale Railway Association, who tried to raise the purchase price. But in then came the cavalry, well, the army to be precise. They put forward their plans to develop the terminal at Redmire into a loading and offloading point for tanks bound for Catterick Garrison. This was the lifeline the revitalists wanted. Apart from a few through trains until 1964, the Dale fell quiet again from 1954 as normal through passenger services were axed. Wensleydale returned to the peace and tranquillity of the mid-19th century for the 18 miles between Redmire, Hawes and Garsdale. But all the time, local people were denied a train service and had to rely upon the road that twisted its way from east to west. That is, until the revitalists moved in. This is the scene on the 17th of August 1996 as the very first working party descended on the overgrown trackbed. 6 years previously, the beginnings of the Railway Association saw its membership enrol for the project to instigate the purchase, relaying and operation of the whole line from Northallerton to Garsdale, junction with the Settle to Carlisle. Some estimates put the reinstatement at £1 million per mile, with a renewal of the only bridge to cross the River Ure near Hawes at a mere £2 million. Nothing was going to deter the volunteers though, and gradually they cleared many areas of trackbed in the Bolton Castle area that had been purchased from landowners. Clearing trees and undergrowth, putting up new fencing were some of the tasks undertaken. By November 1997 the trackbed was clear and ready to receive sleepers. It was from Redmire to this point that the WRA had its initial sights. With a bridge requiring replacement at Redmire and much more to do before rails could be laid, a move towards Aysgarth was made, where a base was developed. This was all of course before the railway could gain access to the 22-mile rail track section, so these were the only areas volunteers could work on. More surveys of the line were undertaken. These views show the enormity of the work involved and the way in which nature, including the local rabbit population, had undermined the infrastructure. In 1997, the station site at Aysgarth, with most of its buildings, became available. The WRA was quick to react and bought it using a bond issue which raised £200,000. It meant that access was allowed to the volunteers, who quickly started the clearing operation. Aysgarth saw its first train service in 1877. The station was a standard North Eastern Railway design, as too were the other three they built. The Midland Railway were responsible for the stations west of Hawes. By the time of closure in 1954, these stations had only just received all the main services. Indeed, electricity was only added in the early 1950s, well behind the villages they actually served. A change of emphasis in getting the line reopened from Leeming Bar to Leyburn had to take precedence, and to this end the station at Leyburn was purchased. The year 2000 saw tremendous steps forward. The site at Leeming Bar was purchased, and most importantly, a share issue was announced. It was a resounding success, raising £450,000 in just 4 months. In the same period, agreement was reached with Railtrack to lease the line for 99 years. All of these factors meant that the Wensleydale Railway was really in business. The worry and effort on behalf of everyone was well worth it. On the 6th of June 2003, the documents were ready for the handover of the line to the Wensleydale Railway Company. An EWS Class 66 locomotive brought in the token that controls the Castle Hills Junction to Redmire section, and this was formally handed over at Leeming Bar Station, which was in the throes of being upgraded ready for the new train service. Chairman Keith Cameron proudly announced to the gathering that day the facts behind the 10-year fight to bring normal services back to Wensleydale.
Railtrack have agreed in principle to transfer their interests in the Redmire branch to Wensleydale Railway Limited. As a result of that, in November 2000, we turned ourselves for the limited company into a PLC, and then went to the general public and looked for shares to be bought, and that yielded, as I say, over £1 million. Since then, it's taken us 3 years to get to this point, which might seem a long time, considering the deal was agreed in principle. But we have to bear in mind 3 things. First of all, the railway industry has gone through turmoil that Jerry will probably wish he'd never been through. Such difficulties experienced by that industry that, in a sense, have obviously rubbed off on our ability to make progress in terms of negotiations. Secondly, the result has been that we've had to meet some very tough standards. As far as the authorities are concerned, we're effectively a main line. There may only be 22 miles here, but on the other hand, it has to work to the same safety standards and the same operating standards as every other railway. So we've had to prepare a 104-page safety case, which has been blessed by the HSE, has been, all our other submissions have been agreed by the Office of the Rail Regulator, and we've obviously had to be cleared by the Strategic Rail Authority as well. So we've been through a really tough process of meeting all the standards, and you'll be very pleased to know when you ride on this train, on this line, that you're operating to standards which are as good as anywhere else in the UK.
Once the formal handover of the line was completed, the railway were able to gain full access to the line and its structures. There was much to do. Here at Bedale, the crossing and signal box are crucial to operations. The station itself is one of the next places for renovation, so that the good people of the town can have their train service back again. Priority was given to the upgrading of the platforms at Leeming Bar and Leyburn. It would be from these 2 towns that services would initially run. A brand new platform service greets the passenger, as too does a tea room, a nice gift shop and neatly fitted out booking office. At Leyburn, the station was quickly readied for the opening day that had been set for Friday the 4th of July. The station still had a number of small businesses trading from the old goods area, and it's pleasing to see that some relics from the past still survive. Trains to and from Hawes will have to wait a little longer. For now, an exhibition is on show there to publicise plans for the future. Once the line to Redmire itself is fully operational, plans exist to rebuild the line to Aysgarth, a popular tourist spot. Even grander plans are in the early stages for reinstatement of the line from the west, from Garsdale to Hawes. This would bring in passengers from the Settle to Carlisle Railway, itself saved from closure in 1989, and now a thriving concern. But for the moment, here at Apperset, the viaduct is used for other purposes. The area of land to the right here at Garsdale is where the Wensleydale trains used to arrive and depart. In the not too distant future, tracks should be in place again here, so that you can travel to Hawes via the railway. Trains used to take about 2 hours to get from Northallerton to Garsdale. In the early part of the last century, 4 round trips were in the timetable. Livestock movements were very much part of goods traffic, with thousands of cattle transported using the Midland route to and from the Wensleydale line. The 39-mile railway was one of few trans-Pennine routes with east and west, and when the last train departed here in 1959, there was still a service to Hawes after through services finished in 1954, the country lost an important link. Until 1933, when trains arrived here from Northallerton, Garsdale was named Hawes Junction and had a particularly impressive station, complete with canopy. And so, on the 4th of July 2003, the great day arrived, and a party atmosphere prevailed. It was a bright midsummer's day, and the trains were packed with passengers who had paid a premium to travel on the very first train.
Well, we're here at Leeming Bar today on Friday 4th of July, the day the train services start. Been a huge amount of work put in by everybody over the last 2 or 3 weeks particularly to get everything ready for this day, and the first train is fully booked and ready to go at 10:30 this morning on the platform behind me.
Today we've got 500 train-shaped biscuits, part of the spirit of enjoying the day and thinking about railways. Aren't we lucky with the weather? First meeting in May 1990. We actually met a little bit earlier in February to begin to plan. There were 15 people at the February meeting and slightly more in May, most of whom are still with us supporting the cause. What does it mean to me? It's just wonderful to see so many other people involved and to hear it on the radio and television this morning, and to know that what's being done here is a model for national practice in rural areas, that we really have demonstrated that if you don't allow yourself to be distracted from the main aim of reinstating the railway, all sorts of things can be achieved.
It's a notable day. It's the end of 13 years of hard work. What was a gleam in the eye 13 years ago has now come to fruition. The first train, and the first of many, I think. So this is a really smashing day, and thanks are due to those people who started the whole process 13 years ago, the people who've supported during those 13 years, the shareholders, the members of the association, and all the people in the last few weeks in particular who've done so much hard work getting this first train away at 10:30 today.
Hi there. Do you see it?
Over 50,000 passenger journeys have been made since services began in July. This presents a marvellous springboard for a full year of running in 2004. Before then there are new loops to install at 3 points and stations to reopen. Bedale is one such station on the list for reinstatement. We flash back 40 years at Leyburn to see a rare sequence of archive film. Good services ceased along the line in April 1964, which was a precursor to the track being lifted west of Redmire in 1965. Coal was regularly delivered to the Dale from the north-east, much of it from the Durham coalfields, with Leyburn Station acting as a distribution depot for the locality. Interestingly, receipts for goods traffic fluctuated a great deal. The heyday for cattle, sandstone and coal was in the late 19th century, whereas the peak time for milk, limestone and racehorses was up to the closure period in 1954. Here at Leeming Bar, the new railway company has established its main centre of operations. The station is probably looking better now than at any time since its construction in the late 1850s. The section of line through Leeming to Bedale was opened 20 years before the rest of the railway to Hawes and beyond, and so the architecture of the station is very different from the other stations built by the North Eastern Railway as far as Hawes. This is what saved the line from destruction. The Army agreed to spend £750,000 on upgrading the section to Redmire in 1995, and soon afterwards tanks were transported on these wagons from other parts of the country for the Catterick garrison. Although these days the special trains are limited, they do represent a major saving in road transport of heavy vehicles, particularly through the narrow lanes of the Dales. Here, though, is the end of the line for the present. These buffer stops have been in place since 1965. Long live the day when they can be removed and a train can pass along the next section towards Bolton Castle and Aysgarth. Sit back and enjoy a cab ride along the branch. The view from the window is really what this railway is all about. We joined drivers Peter Streeton and Rob Shirley for this ride on the DMU 2 months after reopening day. So that was obviously a loop really into the station there, wasn't it? There would have been a line that went just straight back from here now, wouldn't there?
The line went straight through, and when they've put the new platform in, they've put the new bit of railway in the platform, just put a slough either end.
So eventually there'd be another loop put in there, I suppose. Yeah. Rabbits trying to compete.
There's plenty of them.
I suppose that's what's been undermining the ballast and everything, is it? Which station would this have been? What is this?
Fingal Lane.
Oh, it's Fingal Lane. Obviously privately owned. It looks good.
Well, it's belongs to the railway, but it's got a sitting tenant.
Oh, I see. Right. They certainly looked after it.
Well, I think they've let it go for a lot of years, and then they spent a lot of money just before they handed it over. You know, typical railway.
Yeah.
So property people.
got some posts up, the communications.
Yeah.
No copper wire though. Mysteriously gone.
So many insulators, I think they make good targets for
oh yes.
people shooting.
Is it pretty much downhill this way, effectively?
Yeah, all the way to Redale. There's a little bit of uphill through Redale and then downhill again.
Yeah, you can see the kink in the track there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a landslip. That field on the right slipping down, it's pushing the railway up.
Oh, I see. Oh yes, you can literally see it, can't you?
It's pushing the drains up and everything. So.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're going to do, whether they're going to dig it out or lift it out.
No. Yes, you can feel it going up, can't you? Just there, it's the worst bit. Well, you were used to landslips on the North York Moors, weren't you? You had a few around there, didn't you?
Yeah, one or two over the years.
Cromon, wasn't it? No, sorry, up the main bit, you know.
Oh yeah, around Beckhole way.
Yeah, Beckhole, yeah. I lost my lens cap around there. From this, I was on Heartland.
Oh yeah.
John got me a foot blade ride actually. I was on Heartland and I was hanging out the window filming. I was just getting ready and it just flew off. It's down there somewhere. Do they get any freight? I mean, is it just...
There's only been one since I've been here.
Has it? Yeah. I think it happened the day before you were opening, wasn't it? Was it or the day of
it was the...
Of the opening?
No, it was the Monday or Tuesday of the same week.
Oh, right.
We had another one offered, but we had to turn it down because we already organised possessions and they didn't give us enough notice.
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to get a fortnight's notice and then...
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think they offered it on the Friday night to run on the following Thursday.
Oh,
so.
Of course it would interrupt with the service train.
Yeah.
Or could do. Have you been able to take any pheasant home for dinner?
Yeah. Don't like pheasants.
I don't either.
The ones we get, there's not much left of them.
No, that's
keep a bit normally.
You cut them in half or something.
I mean, there's loads go underneath the train, but
really?
They must come out again somewhere.
Yes.
There's not many carcasses laid about.
Line closed to operation, normal operation, such a long time ago, didn't it?
That's right.
You're not looking at beaching, you're looking at 50s, aren't you?
Yes.
This one. So
Passenger trains, yeah.
it's been let go, isn't it?
Oh yeah, obviously. It's on the bare minimum, that's right.
Yeah. Well, it started cutting back a bit at this end, didn't it?
A little bit. It's mostly sighted for the crossings.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yes, those are the important sections first, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty awful. There's a lot of there's no sighting.
No.
They won't shut the gates and
No.
farmers and things. They've been used to driving straight across for so many years.
Yeah.
Just carrying on doing it. Even though there's been a poster campaign and a leaflet dropped, it's taken notice, you know.
Well, accidents do happen. There's that bad one down in Kent that month ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Local lady couldn't be bothered to stop, but give it a chance. Killed the driver.
Yeah.
What was that station?
Craighall.
That's Craighall, isn't it? Yeah. Do you actually stop at any pick up?
No.
This is just direct, just leeming cars.
At the leyburn.
Right.
There's no platforms.
No.
No.
I think Beedale might be one of the first ones.
Well, Beedale, the platform's all there, but there's no access to it.
Ah, right.
So the station property's all along.
Oh, yes.
By chemical companies.
That's right.
Cooking oil, I think it is.
Yeah. Presumably it's Meadale, is it? Yeah. What's an entrance? A few block drains.
Yep.
that bit of incline you mentioned, presumably, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit slightly all the way through.
Yeah. Be the A1 in the distance, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's leaving back.
Oh yes.
We go over the 684 then underneath the A1.
Right. Yeah. Unusual not to have barriers, isn't it, over a main road?
It's the old adrenaline going somewhere else. You get one that decides not to stop, and then they all like sheep, they all follow up, you know.
Dodgy. Oh, this is the A1. Yeah. Thank God we don't have a level crossing over the A1. That would be a problem.
Well, it used to be, because there's a level crossing at the other end of the station here.
Oh,
That used to be the A1.
Is it really? Great North Road. Clearly a lot of work going on here then, so it's this sort of headquarters clearly at the moment.
Well, yeah.
Also that would have been the A1 effectively then. It's been 50 years since local people have been able to travel the line through Wensleydale. Here's to the full reopening in the years ahead.